Evan Hale had visited many strange planets before, but nothing felt as strange as the silent world called Verosphore. The sky was a deep purple, and the air always carried a soft, humming sound. Like something old was trying to whisper. He was here with Lyra, an alien girl from a proud warrior race known as the Sarati. She looked almost human, but her silver eyes and glowing face marks made her stand out everywhere she went. Their job today was simple, or so Evan thought. They were exploring an ancient ruin recently found under the dusty rocks of the planet. Scientists believed it was at least 4,000 years old, but no one really knew its true purpose. Only Lyra seemed nervous, and that alone made Evan pay attention. "This place is from my ancestors," she said quietly, her voice echoing in the long, empty hallway. They were great warriors, but they left many secrets behind. Evan tried to laugh to break the tension, but the air inside the ruins felt heavy. The walls were covered in glowing symbols that reacted when Lyra walked past them. It was as if the ruins recognized her bloodline. After a long walk, they reached a massive sealed door. Humans had tried to open it for days, but nothing worked. But when Lyra placed her hand on the center symbol, the entire door lit up. Then it opened slowly with a deep rumble, sending dust into the air like a sigh from a sleeping giant inside the chamber. The floor was clean, the walls untouched by time. And in the middle stood a strange object resting on a stone platform. It was armor unlike anything Evan had ever seen, black and silver metal, carved with ancient patterns and glowing faint blue energy around the edges. Lyra froze when she saw it. "This is impossible," she whispered. "This armor belonged to the first Sarati kings. It should not be here." Evan stepped closer. Fascinated by the details, he could feel a light pulse coming from the armor. Like a heartbeat, he reached out but stopped when Lyra grabbed his arm. "No one can touch it," she said quickly. "Only royal blood can activate it. And even then, the trials are deadly." She tried to sound serious, but the way her eyes widened showed she was just as shocked as him. Then, maybe because the moment was too intense, she tried to joke. "Unless you want to try it on," she said with a nervous smile. "Imagine you in ancient king armor." Evan laughed, even though the room felt far from funny. "Sure, why not?" he said. Raising his hand again, he expected Lyra to stop him. But she only watched, maybe because she knew nothing would happen. But something did happen. The armor suddenly flashed bright blue. Surprising both of them, the glow spread across the room, and the air trembled as if the ruin had awakened from a long sleep before Evan could react. The armor lifted itself from the platform and floated toward him. "What is happening?" Evan shouted, stepping back, but the armor moved faster, opening like a mechanical flower. And in one quick motion, it snapped onto him. Lyra screamed his name, but it was too late. The armor locked around his chest, arms, and legs, pieces clicking into place with sharp, metallic sounds. Blue lines of energy crawled across the metal like living veins. Evan stumbled as a powerful force rushed through him. His vision blurred, and strange symbols appeared in the air around him. He could feel the armor connecting to him, searching him, choosing him. A deep voice echoed in his mind. "Ancient and calm, bearer chosen," it said. Lyra stepped back in shock, knowing this armor should never have accepted a human. Outside the chamber, sensors hidden deep in the ruins lit up for the first time in thousands of years. On distant worlds, ancient machines awoke and sent signals across the galaxy. Something powerful had returned. And many dangerous eyes began to turn toward the small human wearing the old armor. The discovery was not just strange anymore. It was the beginning of something far bigger than Evan or Lyra ever imagined. Evan stood frozen as the ancient armor tightened around him. He could feel every small movement inside the metal, like it was alive and breathing with him. Blue light pulsed from the armor's surface, rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat that was not his own. His fingers twitched, sparks of energy dancing across them, making the air around him crackle. Lyra stared at him with wide silver eyes. "This cannot be," she whispered, her voice shaking in fear. Only Sarati royalty could activate this armor. Only them, but the armor did not care about bloodlines anymore. It cared about something else, something older and deeper. Evan tried to step forward, but stumbled. The armor felt heavy and light at the same time. Like it was testing him, heat surged through his chest and then spread through every nerve in his body. His breathing quickened as symbols glowed across his arms and legs, forming patterns he had never seen before. "Lyra," he said, his voice sounding strange and slightly echoed. "I can't control it." She rushed toward him, but stopped when a ring of energy burst from his body. Sweeping dust across the chamber, her hair blew back from the force, and she shielded her eyes. "Evan, stay calm," she shouted. "The armor is doing a compatibility check. It won't stop until it understands you." "You're telling me this thing is reading my mind?" Evan asked, terrified and amazed at the same time. But before Lyra could answer, a sudden flash filled the room. The entire chamber turned bright white for a moment, and when the light faded, floating symbols spun around Evan. Strange holograms appeared, ancient Sarati warriors. Maps, battles, and unknown creatures, all moving like ghosts in the air. "It's showing you the past," Lyra whispered, completely stunned. "These are the memories of the first armor-bearers." Evan watched as one of the holograms stepped closer, an armored Sarati king holding a massive spear. The king looked straight at Evan, his eyes glowing blue. A deep voice echoed again inside Evan's head. Strength of will detected. Evan gasped as an invisible force pushed him backward. Forcing him to his knees, he felt like the armor was weighing his soul, inspecting it piece by piece. Every fear, every thought, every hope flashed like lightning in his mind. He clenched his fists, refusing to collapse completely. He didn't know what the armor wanted, but he wasn't going to give up. Lyra saw the struggle and stepped closer slowly. "It's testing if you are worthy," she said softly. "You must push back. Show it you are strong." Evan groaned as pressure built behind his eyes. Sweat ran down his forehead as the armor's energy pressed harder. But he forced himself to stand again, shaking but determined, the moment he focused himself. The symbols around him turned from chaotic red to calm blue. The pressure vanished, replaced with a sudden wave of cold. Evan released a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Then the armor spoke again, its voice calm and final. "Bearer accepted." A second surge of power rushed into him, but this time it didn't hurt. It felt natural, like his body had unlocked something hidden within it. His senses sharpened instantly. He could hear distant rumbling outside the ruins. He could feel movement in the air, vibrations from miles away. His eyesight became clearer, sharper, almost superhuman. "What did it do to me?" Evan asked, checking his glowing hands. "The armor enhanced you," Lyra said quietly. "It chose you fully. Even though you are human," her voice carried a mix of fear and awe to her people. The armor was not just a relic. It was a sacred weapon of kings. And now a human wore it as if it belonged to him. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling as the ruins trembled. Lyra turned toward the entrance, her face going pale. "That was not the armor," she said. Something outside woke up too. Evan felt it. Like a distant fire burning in the sky, a presence, cold and hostile, had noticed him. The armor pulsed sharply, almost like a warning. Evan and Lyra exchanged a nervous look, both understanding one thing clearly. The activation of the ancient armor did not happen quietly. Something dangerous had heard its call, and whatever it was coming for them. Far beyond Verosfor, in the darkest edges of the galaxy, a silent station floated around a dying red star. The station belonged to the Krail Dominion, an ancient enemy of Lyra's people. A race known for cold logic and ruthless conquest for centuries. The Sarati and the Krail had fought brutal wars, and the armor Evan now wore had once been the greatest weapon against them. Inside the station, alarms began to ring for the first time in thousands of years. A cold blue light flickered through the halls as ancient sensors rebooted from deep sleep. Krail soldiers, tall and metallic-skinned, marched quickly toward the central chamber. Their armor clanked in perfect rhythm. Like machines pretending to be alive in the center of the chamber, a massive throne stood, carved from black stone. On it sat the Krail High Warlord, a towering figure with burning violet eyes and skin that shimmered like obsidian glass. He opened his eyes slowly when the alarm reached him. "What disturbance awakens us?" he asked, his voice echoing like metal scraping metal. A hologram appeared before him, showing a glowing signal pulsing from Veros 4. "An activation," said a Krail commander, bowing. "The ancestor armor has awakened. It has chosen a bearer." The warlord leaned forward, his eyes narrowing with deadly interest. "Impossible," he growled slowly. "The Sarati royal line was destroyed long ago. But, Supreme Warlord," the commander said, "the armor signal does not match Sarati energy, it matches human energy." For a moment, the chamber fell silent. Then the warlord stood up, towering over everyone, the ground shaking beneath his steps. "A human bearer," he said. "This is an insult to the legacy of war." He raised one long hand, summoning a hologram of Evan wearing the armor. Blue lines glowed across Evan's body, showing how perfectly the armor accepted him. The warlord's expression turned into a cold smile. "If the armor has chosen another champion, then destiny is moving again." He turned to his soldiers. "Prepare the warships," he commanded. "We go to Veros," for his voice grew darker, filled with ancient hatred. "Kill the human, take the armor, and burn whatever stands in our way." Meanwhile, on Veros 4, Evan and Lyra hurried through the ruins as the ground shook again. The tremors grew stronger, not from the armor, but from something approaching from above. Evan could feel it in his bones, a pressure in the air, a cold shadow spreading across the atmosphere. "The armor is reacting," he said, touching his chest as the blue lights flared brighter. Lyra's eyes widened. "The Krail," she whispered. "They must have sensed the activation." Evan stopped. "You know them?" he asked. Lyra nodded slowly, fear filling her voice. "They are our oldest enemy. The reason my ancestors created the armor. The reason half our worlds were destroyed." A deep rumble echoed above them, shaking dust from the ceiling. They ran out of the central chamber and reached the surface just in time to see the sky changing. The once purple clouds twisted into black spirals as massive dark ships broke through the atmosphere. Their engines roared like thunder, and their sharp metal designs reflected cold starlight. Evan stared in shock. "There are so many," he whispered. Lyra swallowed hard. "They never send small forces. If the Krail arrive, they arrive to conquer." The first Krail ship landed with a heavy impact, sending a shockwave across the barren land. Metallic ramps lowered, and soldiers marched out with perfect coordination, their eyes glowing with violet light, locked instantly on Evan. "He is the chosen," one of them said in a chilling monotone. "Target confirmed." Evan grabbed Lyra's arm. "We need to get back to the human camp," he said. "We have to warn everyone." But the armor suddenly tightened around him and sent a flash of warning across his vision. A message appeared in ancient Sarati script. "Enemy detected." Before Evan could move, the Krail soldiers raised their weapons. Purple energy crackled at their tips, ready to fire. Lyra shouted, "Evan, run!" But Evan didn't get the chance. The first blast shot toward him, and the ancient armor reacted, instantly awakening something even more powerful inside him. The Krail energy blast rushed toward Evan like a burning purple spear. Lyra screamed his name, but Evan didn't have time to react. Before the blast could hit him, the ancient armor pulsed bright blue and formed a shimmering shield around his body. The energy struck the shield with a loud crack, sending waves of dust across the ground. Evan felt the shock run through him, but the shield held strong, humming like a living wall. The Krail soldiers paused for a moment, their violet eyes narrowing in confusion. "The armor is fully active," one said, stepping back. The bearer has passed the first response trial. Evan blinked, not understanding what was happening. What trial? He shouted, but his voice sounded distant, as if underwater. Suddenly, the entire world around him flickered. The ruins, the dust, the Krail soldiers all vanished in a blinding flash of light. Evan gasped as he found himself standing in a vast, empty space made of blue light and floating platforms. Lyra was gone, and he stood alone, surrounded by ancient holographic symbols spinning in the air. "Where am I?" Evan whispered, turning in circles. Then the armor's deep voice answered, echoing inside his mind, "Trial Phase 2." The holographic symbols exploded outward, forming figures made of glowing blue lines. They shaped into tall, armored warriors. The ancient Sarati kings, standing like judges around him, one stepped forward, pointing a spear made of pure light toward Evan. The bearer must show instinct, courage, and clarity, the echoing voice said. Only then will the armor unlock its core. Evan raised his hands defensively. "Wait, I didn't ask for trials," he said. "I didn't ask for any of this." But the tests did not care what he wanted. The Sarati warrior lunged forward with incredible speed. Evan threw himself sideways, rolling across the glowing floor. The warrior's spear struck where he had stood, creating a crack of blue lightning that shook the entire platform. Evan's heart raced. "How am I supposed to fight light?" He shouted, but his voice only echoed back. The armor tightened around his arms, as if guiding him. Another warrior charged, swinging a massive light axe. Evan raised his arm, and to his shock, a blue shield formed instantly. The impact rang through his entire body. But he stayed standing. The force pushed him back, but he did not fall. A new voice whispered inside the armor, different from the first. Adaptation confirmed. Evan felt something shift inside his mind. His fear slowly dulled, replaced with focus. It was as if the armor was tuning his senses, sharpening him. Clearing away doubt, he took a deep breath and moved forward. The warriors attacked again, faster and harder. Evan jumped, rolled, blocked, and dodged with a skill he didn't know he had. His body felt lighter now, his reflexes sharper, almost unnatural. The armor supported every movement, as if reading his next action before he even thought of it. Evan grabbed one warrior by the arm and flipped it over his shoulder. The light figure shattered like glass, breaking into glowing shards that vanished instantly. The other warriors paused, as if evaluating his progress. Evan stood tall, chest rising and falling quickly. "I don't want to fight," he said, "but I will not die here." The platform beneath him shook as the final warrior stepped forward. This one was larger, its eyes glowing a deeper blue. It raised a sword taller than Evan. The armor whispered, "Final challenge." The warrior charged like lightning. Evan braced himself and pushed forward instead of dodging. Their clash created a shockwave of light. Evan slid back, his boots scraping the glowing floor. But he didn't fall. He pushed harder, and the sword cracked down the middle, breaking like ice. The warrior stepped back, lowered its head, and dissolved into blue dust. The empty space turned silent. Then the armor spoke again, its tone deeper, more complete. Trials completed. Evan felt a wave of warmth rush through him. New energy filled the armor, glowing brighter than before. Symbols on his chest rearranged themselves into a pattern he had never seen. The armor had accepted him more fully. Unlocking a deeper level of power, the glowing world faded, and Evan found himself back in the ruins. Lyra was still there, shouting his name, shaking him. The Krail soldiers were regrouping, preparing another attack. Evan opened his eyes, blue light shining from them. "Lyra," he said calmly, "I know what to do now." And for the first time, Lyra saw not just Evan, but the new warrior the armor had created. And the battle that was coming would test him far more than any trial inside the armor.
The moment Evan returned from the trial world inside the armor, the real world felt louder and heavier. The ground shook again under his feet. And the sky above Varosvor continued to darken as more Krail ships entered the atmosphere. Their engines cut long scars of purple fire across the sky, lighting up the land like storm lightning. Lyra grabbed Evan's arm, her silver eyes full of fear. "We need to get out of here now," she said. "The Krail are coming in full force." Evan nodded, but something inside him felt different now. The armor hummed with controlled power, not wild like before, but calm and steady. He could sense movement within the ruins, like vibrations spreading through the ground. It was as if the planet itself was warning him. Their numbers. "They're too many," Evan whispered, watching the sky fill with black ships. The first wave of Krail soldiers marched forward in perfect formation. Their footsteps created deep metallic echoes, and each one carried a long staff weapon glowing with purple energy. Lyra pulled Evan behind a rock formation. "We cannot face them alone," she said sharply. "We must reach the human base and warn them." But the moment she tried to move, the armor tightened around Evan's chest again. A line of blue text flashed across his vision. "Threat level. Severe interception required." Evan clenched his fists as energy flowed into his arms like burning electricity. "It wants me to fight," he said quietly. "It doesn't want us to run." Lyra stared at him with disbelief. "Evan, these are Krail shock troops," she said. "My ancestors needed entire armies to stop them." "Sure." He took a deep breath, looking at the advancing soldiers. "I know," he said. "But I don't feel helpless anymore." Before Lyra could protest, the Krail soldiers opened fire. Beams of purple energy shot toward them, carving the air with sharp sizzling sounds. Evan reacted instantly, raising his arm as a shimmering blue shield formed in front of them. The blasts hit the shield like hammers against a wall, sending bright flashes across its surface. Lyra gasped as she watched the energy bend away harmlessly. "How did you do that?" she whispered. "I didn't," Evan said. "The armor did." He stepped out from behind the rocks. Facing the Krail soldiers directly, one soldier spoke in a cold, emotionless voice. "Human bearer identified. Tartmust must be neutralized." Evan felt the armor pulse again, sending strength into his legs. The Krail fired again, but Evan dashed forward with a burst of speed he didn't know he had. The world blurred around him, and he moved like a streak of blue light. He reached the first soldier and swung his arm, releasing a shockwave of energy. The soldier flew back, crashing into the ground with enough force to leave a crater. Lyra watched with wide eyes as Evan faced the others. 3 more soldiers charged at him, their weapons glowing dangerously. Evan jumped high, almost soaring through the air, and landed behind them. He raised his hand and fired a burst of blue energy that hit all 3 at once. Their armor cracked, sparks flew, and they collapsed in metallic heaps. Evan breathed hard, surprised at his own strength. But more Krail troops marched out of the ships, rows and rows of them, thousands, maybe more, forming a black wave across the dusty land. Lyra grabbed Evan's shoulder. "Evan, you did well. But you cannot take an army alone," she said desperately. Evan nodded. Even though the armor buzzed with determination, more ships descended, casting giant shadows over the ruins. Their weapons glowed, ready to fire on the entire region. "This is not an attack," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. "This is an invasion." Evan looked toward the direction of the human outpost far away. If the Krail reached it, no one there would stand a chance. "We have to get to the base," Evan said. "The humans need to prepare." Lyra nodded quickly. "You run," she said. "I'll guide you through the old tunnels." Behind them, the Krail army prepared to advance. Above them, the sky burned purple and black, and in front of them, a long path of danger waited. Evan tightened his fists as the armor glowed brighter. He knew the invasion had only begun. Evan and Lyra ran through the narrow stone tunnels beneath the ruins. The walls were old and cracked, glowing faintly with ancient Sarate symbols that lit up as they passed. Dust fell from the ceiling with each vibration from the battle above. The distant sound of Krail weapons echoed like thunder, reminding them the invasion was getting worse every second. Evan kept glancing at Lyra. "Are we almost out?" he asked, his voice tense but steady. Lyra nodded, trying to stay calm. "These tunnels lead to the ridge. From there we can see the human base," she said. "But we must move fast." The armor pulsed again, sending a cold shiver down Evan's spine. It was sensing danger nearby, danger that Evan couldn't see yet. "Something's coming," he whispered, stopping for a moment. Lyra looked at him with worry. "What do you mean?" she asked, but she didn't need the answer, because the tunnel behind them suddenly exploded. Rocks flew everywhere as a hulking Krail warrior stepped through the dust cloud. This one was twice the size of the normal soldiers. Covered in dark armor with glowing violet cracks, its heavy steps shook the ground like a giant waking from sleep. "A cryo-titan?" Lyra whispered, fear turning her voice thin. "They use these for crushing entire squads." The Titan raised its massive arm, charging up a blast strong enough to vaporize both of them. Evan stepped forward instinctively. "Go," he told Lyra. "Get to the ridge. I'll hold it off." Lyra shook her head instantly. "No, you cannot fight that alone." But the armor had already made the decision for Evan. A flood of energy rushed into his muscles, steady and strong. Evan clenched his fists as blue light spread across his body like flowing water. "I'm not running anymore," he said, voice deepened by the armor's resonance. The Titan fired its blast. "At you." Evan jumped sideways, moving faster than any human should be able to. The beam tore through the tunnel wall, sending lava-hot debris flying. The heat brushed Evan's cheek, but the armor shielded him from the worst of it. He dashed forward and slammed his fist into the Titan's chest. A blue shockwave exploded from the impact. The Titan staggered but did not fall. Its heavy armor absorbed the hit, glowing brighter with each strike. The Titan roared, a deep metallic sound that echoed through the tunnel. It swung a massive arm toward Evan. Jet. Evan raised his shield, the blue barrier forming instantly. The impact shook him hard, sliding him back across the floor. His arms ached, but he didn't fall. "You cannot beat it, Hedon," Lyra shouted. "Evan!" Use the armor's new power. Evan wasn't sure what she meant, but the armor responded before he could ask. Symbols flashed across his vision. Core ability unlocked. Phase pulse ready. Evan felt energy building inside his chest. It was heavy at first, then warm, then burning like a star, trapped inside him. He planted his feet, pulled his arm back, and swung forward with everything he had. A beam of pure blue light shot from his fist like a tidal wave. It slammed into the Titan. Pushing it back with tremendous force, the Titan struggled, digging its feet into the floor, but the beam only grew stronger. The blue energy shattered the Titan's armor, piece by piece, until the massive creature finally collapsed. Exploding into a burst of violet sparks, the tunnel shook from the blast. Evan fell to one knee, breathing hard. The armor dimmed slightly, its energy settling again. Lyra rushed to him, dropping beside him. "Evan, are you all right?" she asked, voice trembling. Evan nodded slowly. "I'm okay," he said, "but that took a lot." He stood up, leaning on the wall for balance. "We need to reach the base now." They ran again, faster than before. When they finally emerged from the tunnel into open air, they stopped in shock. The human base was no longer peaceful and quiet. It was surrounded by Krail ships, smoke rising into the sky, alarms blaring across the land. Lyra's voice shook. "They came faster than I thought." Evan stared at the burning horizon, fists tightening as the armor glowed once again. "They want a war," he said. "Then they're about to see what a human can do." The battle for Varos 4 had truly begun. And Evan was no longer just a visitor or explorer. He was the bearer of ancient power. And he was ready to stand up for humanity and every world that needed him.